Hi, this is Chris with Stupid Raisins, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a slow motion effect in Final Cut Pro 10.
Epic cinematic slow motion.
Now I'm going to share with you how to use slow motion to enhance your videos, and also ways you can adjust your camera settings and your project settings to get the best quality slow motion. I'm also going to share speed ramping. It's a great way to make your videos pop. Let's go check it out.
Okay, so now we're in Final Cut Pro. Where we're going to start is we're going to open up a new project. And we're going to call this Slow Motion. We're looking to make it 1080p, 24 frames per second, Apple ProRes. So we got all that in there. So something I want to discuss real quick before we dive into this is filming. So if you have a 24 frames per second video that you're putting into here trying to create slow motion, you can still achieve that effect. There's just a couple steps involved with it. But ideally, if you're using a 24p video, you're going to want to shoot in your camera 30 frames per second or 60. So if you're shooting at 60p, you're going to want to double your shutter speed to 120. And same thing with 30, you want to double that to 60. And if you're shooting at 24, you want to double that to 48. It's just going to help give you enough frames and let that shutter be open enough to capture all that you need in order for this effect to look right. And of course, as you're shooting, you want there to be steadiness. So like this shot right here, it looks like they had something holding that camera steady. This one here looks like it was handheld. It is moving about. All right, I dropped some footage in here that I found online. And this one you can see there is a lot of shake. You can see this person was walking, not using anything to help keep that camera steady. So keep it steady, go at least 1080p or 4K for the best footage possible. We're gonna go right over here to the Retime Editor. Now we've got this clip selected. If we want, we can throw this in and just right out the gate, we got 50% speed. We're slowing it down. You can see that it's struggling a little bit to fill in some of those frames. You got these little control points at the end of your clip that allow you to drag it longer to make it slower or a little bit faster and find that sweet spot for where you're wanting your footage to land. So with this clip, I'm going to show you a couple things. First thing is, in this editor here, we do have the option for automatic speed. So that's going to take your 60p clip and it's going to extend that out to what the 24p timeline can handle. So let's do the automatic speed. Look at that. So for every one of the 24 frames, it is filling in one of those 60 frames into each of these spots and just stretching it out. Now you could hear it kind of sounds normal, just sort of slowed down. Now there's one thing we can do is we can undo preserve pitch. And let's hear what that does to it. So this might have been more of the slow motion effect you were thinking of.
It's so slow.
But Final Cut does have a preserve pitch automatically enabled. So it kind of still keeps the integrity of the sound that was going on there. Now I've got this ridiculous behind the scenes here. I don't know if I was going for Grover or Yoda. Either way, ridiculous. So if we take this and we want to slow that down, automatic speed. So for 30 frames per second or 29.97, it's going to slow down 80% when it's put into a 24 frames timeline.
If you're finding this helpful so far, just know we release new content all the time to help with your Final Cut Pro projects. Okay, now's the time to act fast. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to get notified when we release our next video.
So ideally, if you've shot in 24 frames per second and you're in a 24 frames per second timeline, you're not going to want to slow down that footage. But if you absolutely need to, then there are a few things that we can do. One thing that I would suggest, I used to shoot weddings, and I shot those weddings in 24 frames per second, thinking this is what you should do. And then later on, I was like, oh wait, I want that to be in slow motion. So in order to still preserve at least somewhat of a good quality with that, we're gonna take this and we're gonna make it, we're gonna go to the custom menu. And I found that like around 92 was a really good sweet spot where you could get a little bit of slow motion and it wasn't so drastic that the frames it was missing would be obvious. But let's say you wanted to go a little crazier. Let's go ahead and bring it down to 80%. Whoa, not 580. Way too much. 80. Notice in here you can also reverse it. Pretty cool. But you can see it's, especially with this wheel, you're seeing that it's looking like one of those old school animation things that spin around and you just get that, you see every frame. So what we're gonna do with this in order to help this out is we're gonna take a look at video quality. And anytime that you're using a clip that is going to be missing frames, like in this case, a 24p footage slowed down in a 24p timeline, we're gonna come over here, back to the Retime Editor, settings, and we're gonna go down to video quality. Now it's gonna default to normal. One of the things you can change to though is frame blending, which basically does like a mini dissolve between frames to fill in the missing information. So let's set that. Now you'll notice this appears right up top, all these little ticks. This just shows part of your project file that has not been rendered yet. So let's give that a moment. You'll notice in this corner, these background tasks are gonna boop, boop, boop. Thank you, M1, for making that so quick. So now we'll play that. And you'll notice it doesn't have that stutter, but it does have more of like a motion blur effect, which is good for what we're doing here. Now let's say it still wasn't quite working. Let's say frame blending didn't do the trick. So you come back in here, go to video quality. Let's go down to optical flow. Again, we want to wait for that. It's taking a little longer because there's a lot more that it's doing. With optical flow, it's always longer to render because it's filling in frames using an algorithm. It's analyzing the directional movement of the pixels. So it's doing a lot more. It's a little bit of a smarter but hardware taxing process. And there we go. Now let's play that back. Now, it's going to be a subtle difference. In fact, let's just play these side by side. So in the street, you'll notice there's a slight difference in how you see more of the actual each bit of the asphalt. And then here it just kind of blurs it. This is the frame blending one. It kind of blurs it together. So this is an example of how to use that video quality setting in order to fill in frames when you didn't shoot with the intention of slow motion. Let's say you have a long clip and maybe it's full of great footage. So we want to show the whole street, but let's speed up the process. We're gonna do Shift B and Shift B, drag that down and play. Very nice. It's sped up real good, but let's say we want that to go even faster. Maybe even trim off some of the end. Play that back. Nice. So we took a clip that was about 15 seconds, made it 2.5 seconds, and spiced it up with a really cool effect.
It was slow moving for a bit there, but we've reached the end. I have a free gift for you. A pack of Final Cut Pro 10 plugins to enhance your videos and impress your clients. It's worth $138, but it is yours free. Just click below for your free gift.